Welcome back to another weekly Forexcast. All right, going to get right to it, straight into the point, starting with the dollar index. All right, so we can see how price developed on the weekly. We had a nice bearish shooting star close on the weekly. For me, that's signifying that we're going to see, it's likely that we see a continued rollover from this level of supply. All right, we see on the daily. So last weekly Forexcast, I was saying when we were down here that price is likely we could see this push up into supply and then start to roll over. So we see here on the daily, we had a nice impulsive close. All right, bearish engulfing on the daily. All right, so from the top down, I can see that it's likely that we're going to continue to roll over. All right here, we could see price correct, pull back some, but even if that corrects on a correction or pullback, I'm still expecting the dollar index to give us a continued rollover to the downside. All right, let's see how that develops into the other pairs. So GJ was actually one of the pairs that was given out in VIP. All right, so if you could look at this, if you look at real quick, you can see how I gave this out here in the private Discord. All right, you can see, for those of you that are not in there, want to see how the trades look. So last week, you can see it says here, it says I'm selling GJ. TP1 was 152.3, TP2, 151.8. So if we see down here, TP1 was hit for 60 pips. Now, TP2, with TP2, price came about 7 pips shy of TP2. All right, so we just about hit that. I'm still bearish on GJ this week. You know, we could correct first after that, such a move to the downside. So if we look at this on the weekly, we had a nice bearish close. All right, nice strong bearish rejection candle. For me, I'm still bearish after the correction. All right. So looking at this on the daily, price, we're still in the downtrend here on the daily, forming lower lows and lower highs. All right. Price pretty much retested its previous level of lower high structure. So we see how it formed on the daily right here. We got a nice evening star rejection on the daily, rejecting from that daily around my daily trend line I have there as well. And we had a continued move to the downside. All right, so now price for me is still bearish, strong impulse. So now we could possibly get some type of correction. And on this correction, it could be another opportunity, you know, for price to just continue down towards support, towards 151.5. All right, possibly lower if it breaks structure. All right, so if you're in this trade, if you caught this, I would say adjust your stop, secure some profit. But overall, after a correction, I'm still expecting price to give us a continued move down. Euro USD. So if you look at EU, our EU was sent out, and I was anticipating price to move or give us some type of reaction at this level of demand. Always look left or go right. We see last time price was here, we had a big move to the upside. All right, so price retested this for the first time, and we see makes this zone fresh. Price reacted, strong bullish reaction from this level. Here on the daily, we got a strong bullish engulfing candle. So for me, that's a sign that it's likely we're going to continue to see this to roll up. All right, but we could get some type of correction first. If I'm not in this trade, I'm looking for that correction first. So if we go down to the day, smaller time frame, like the 4 hour, all right, price had really, once I saw this bullish engulfing on the 4 hour, I was leaning towards price to hold and just continue up. All right, because looking to the left, we had a nice level of demand. So seeing price hold that type of bullish price action at the same level of demand was good, was changing my bias to continue that bullish pressure. All right, so now we got that impulse. Now I would say wait for some type of correction before we get that continuation move up. Looking at this potential retest areas, looking to the left, I would say anywhere between 1.17 or 1.176 to 1.175. All right, if we look to the left, this is roughly around, all right, a level of support as well. All right, but that also will line up a retest in previous structure, around previous structure, before you get that continuation move to the upside. You can also take a trend line from this low, all right, to this higher low and extend that out. All right, so really if it pulls back around there, I believe that will be just setting up to create, you know, higher low before we get that continuation, another wave up. All right, so that's what I'm looking at on EU this week. And I'm expecting it price to hold above, stay above that bullish engulfing on the daily. UJ, so UJ also had a nice rejection from this level of structure. If we look at the weekly, a solid shooting star rejection on the weekly. All right. I like that. I like that price action. If we go down to the daily, roughly around this same level of resistance structure. All right. It reacted from that same level. All right. So that's a strong daily rejection. This is really actually a evening star rejection right there too. All right. So for me, my bias is still to the downside this week. If you're not in that trade, now what you do, you look for that correction. You got the impulse. Now you wait for some type of correction and continuation. All right. So I would say let price correct. All right. Let price correct, form like a bearish flag. On that correction, we could get a potential continuation to the downside. I'm expecting price to stay below this lower high or below the shoulder of this, before it had that impulse. I'm expecting price to stay below there. Because if we're looking at the daily, that actually is below this evening star pattern. All right. So that's where that is. So I'm expecting that to stay there. So some type of correction like this and a continuation back down towards support. GU. So GU is at an interesting level. We caught some of this when price broke down, this descending triangle, had a retest here, caught this continuation to the downside. Then price had another correction back up towards there, then had another rejection down. Now we're back at this level. So it's ranging right here a bit. So really price could pull up a little some, but let's say it pulls up and it still rejects, give you a nice rejection and holds resistance, and you could possibly see that continuation down. All right, but if this just holds and continues to pump through structure, all right, and pulls back and holds support, then we could see this continue up. All right, so it can go either way. I still would like to see some type of rejection and price hold for a potential continuation down, but we'll see how price develop. I normally don't trade Sundays, so I would like to see how it develops after the daily close on Monday. EURNZD. Looking at EURNZD on a daily, you can see price has basically been trading within this range, this daily range, which is a nice size amount of pips within this range. This is about 400 plus pip range. All right. So some nice pips within that. So looking at where price is at now on the daily, I'm looking at this price action here. We had a nice bullish engulfing here formed at this level of demand. All right. Like right here, you see he had a bullish engulfing in this demand level of the range, and then price continued up. So that can signify that price is holding support and we could continue to roll over. But I will expect if price can pull down some first and hold, then I will look for that potential continuation on the correction. All right. So something like this is one or two things I could see possibly happen. Our price could, if you look at this on a 4 hour, you could say, okay, this is a downtrend. This is lower high. This is the high. All right. This could be a potential lower high to give us another wave down. But if price pulls down and holds above that low, I believe we could possibly see that continuation up based off of the daily bullish engulfing. So, I would like to see how the daily candle close on Monday as well for this one. And then see if price holds above there, then I could potentially look for continuation moves up. All right. Now, if price just continues to come down and break structure, and that's telling you, okay, you likely can go lower. But I'm still leaning towards price to, even if it pulls back first, continue up. So that's one scenario, or price could just continue to pump up from here. If that was to happen, I would need to see price break this lower high structure. So if price does that, was to continue up, break structure, I would need to see a pullback or a retest around that before you get that continuation move up. NZDCHF. So you can see here on the daily, this has been moving in a downward trend, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, right? Just downtrend structure at this level. So where price came to the same level of lower high structure, formed supply, and started rejecting there on the daily, had a daily breakdown there. So now seeing this impulsive breakdown, I'm still leaning towards sales here. So if this was to give me some type of corrective move and holds and starts to roll over with like a bearish flag or something of that nature, you could get like a continuation move down. All right, so that's what I would look for here, NZDCHF. We also got, let's see, moving averages crossing over. All right, so that's added confluence. So I would say, yeah, look for a continued breakdown. But first, we could get some type of pullback before you get that. GBPCAD. So GBPCAD was another nice setup here, rejecting this this level of structure. All right, you see we had a nice rejection on the weekly. If we look at this on the daily we had a nice breakdown from here, impulsive breakdown. So now price is correcting. We could get something like this, a correction and continuation down. That's a possibility. Because for me, the structure is still to the downside. All right, so if I'm looking at from this high, price broke down, formed this lower high, and it had that extension breakdown. So we could get something like this. If price holds on this pullback or retest, starts to roll over, that could be your potential setup for continuation down. So that's what I would lean towards on GBPCAD. Now, price comes up higher, breaks that lower high, then my bias will change until it shows me otherwise. All right, and gold. Gold had a strong rejection. It had a nice sell-off to start last week, and then it came in this major demand level and had a strong rejection up. All right, so where price is at, and especially after that weekly close, I'll be careful looking for any sells on gold. All right, like this wick alone is like 850 pips, about 850 pips. So strong close on a weekly. All right, so I'll be careful on that. But looking at this, I'm still leaning towards bullish pressure, especially if the dollar continues. Because you see right here, like price had to move up, pull back, continued up. So it could pull back and then continue up. All right. I would look for something like that. I would ride that wave to the upside especially with the dollar, looking like it's rolling over to the downside for this week. So on the corrections, I would look for potential continuation moves to the upside on gold, especially after that weekly candle. Now, price could still come into this level of structure though and reject and roll over. So that's a possibility. But so I would just, see what price action gives and then just trade in line with that. All right. So those are the setups that's on my watch list for the week. If you are in VIP, I will keep you up to date. If I see any setups or any trades that I'm looking to enter, I will be sure to notify you all and keep you posted. All right. See you on the next one.